Hi, welcome to Beyond the System podcast. My name is Antonio Huizar, and I am your host, also referred to as the messenger, bringing truth and peace and love. Today, I just would like to kind of take a step back. I've recorded quite a few videos with different content. I've really just been working to try to become comfortable on the microphone and using the tools that are at my disposal. So just would like to kind of break down a little bit more about me. Why am I doing this podcast? Who am I at this point in my walk, and why would I be interested in helping other people in the capacity that is my desire. So again, I just want to first of all thank you if you found this video, and welcome you. This is a journey that really was never a desire or goal to become an influencer or be doing this type of content, but here I am. Sometimes the most passionate things that drive us are the ones that we never expected. So always keep your eye open, and don't be afraid to explore and things that you may not think are your cup of tea. So Beyond the System, kind of a unique name. I know when trying to come up with something that kind of established a framework of what it is that the podcast would be about. It was really set on my heart to kind of start helping the direction of humanity. Feels like we're kind of off track. Feels like maybe we should be a little bit more unified and one people across the country and across the world, really at a larger scale. I look at what it costs to survive, and feels like we just spin our wheels, constantly in our day to day life. You get up, go to work, and spend 1/3 of your day, if not more, trying to make enough money just to put a box around you so that you could stay comfortable, and put some things in that box that make you feel like you've accomplished and acquired things. I think the more that I've dug into just the understanding of everything, um, we kind of place an identity, value, or like a status of who we are by the things that surround us, and material aspects. And I think that's part of the problem, that has gotten us to the point that we are. And trying to understand a little bit deeper, is there more? At this point in my life, I'm 47 years old. I'm a proud father of 5 children. Uh, yeah, 5 kids. That's definitely a lot. Raising that many children has created an identity for me that was really important, because I just wanted to be the best father. And that was something as a young boy that I kind of set as a standard for myself, that I would always be the best father that I could be. I call it manifestation, or um, you know uh, the lowest that I would allow myself would be the best that I could be. And it really drove me forward in how I would parent. That was a big part of who I was when my children started to reach adulthood, young adults, and started to want their own identities. I kind of felt lost. There's a part of me that felt like I had no purpose anymore because of the importance of being a parent. I worked, and did my best to financially provide for them. Kind of rolling back a little bit more, I kind of entered the work world at a pretty young age. I think maybe initial jobs were like 12, 13, doing various things. I think I worked with a buddy of mine. We went out, with a guy that cut wood. And we would load the logs into the truck and go and stack them and split them. And when you're young, you really have not many wants or needs. I think we bought baseball cards, Mountain Dew and pizza or breadsticks, and we were completely happy. We were making enough to buy our happiness, So at the early age of 14, I explored into becoming an entrepreneur and starting my initial business. Over time, I've been back and forth working for people, and then working for myself, which was truly working for people in various businesses. So currently, I dabble a little bit doing some IT type work. But it's not truly a full-time gig. I've got various tasks that I do to just bring enough in to provide the basic needs. And my story doesn't really just stop at creating businesses. Previous 10 years, it's been about a year now that I've been out of the working world. But I worked in K-12 education in a rural school. I was the head of the IT department. I don't want to say fell into that position, but it was something that was a 5-year goal I reached. And when I got there, I was like, wow, is this really what I wanted to do? After all, I really enjoyed being in the self-employed world and having, I had a couple computer repair businesses, and I truly enjoyed working alongside of my clientele, and I missed the relationships that I would build with those clientele. Over the years, I had an opportunity to really experience education and a larger level of integration with technology. In the district that I worked, one of the reasons they had called me at my computer business was to see if I would be willing to help and consult and help establish their early systems for, the one-to-one program, which is where each kid gets a computer, that is assigned to them, and start to build out that. Fortunately, we were fairly early in the state of Michigan and in that establishment. And I say that just because by the time COVID come around, we were pretty much prepared for that, where there were a lot of schools that struggled to make that all come together. But unfortunately, the downside was there wasn't a lot to really learn from, because there wasn't a lot of schools doing it. We had a small school that we were trying to model after, but we really created our own system. Myself as a contractor and head of the technology department at that time. Through this integration, I truly was excited. It was neat to be a part of that implementation. Marrying education and with children and technology, and it seemed like it was something that would be beneficial. And I'm not saying there's not benefits to it, but the more that I did the job, the more I started to kind of take a step back and question, what's really happening here? How is this impacting? So, so as somebody who has spent as much time, working with technology, again, I don't deny that it is an amazing tool when utilized correctly. Simplifying tasks, it can make us more efficient. In the education, it truly opened up the world for the learning environment. I'm not going to say that I think that it's all bad per se, but again, taking a look at the integration, I started to feel like, that it was more for a business purpose of these large companies trying to just force the technology down the throats and market all their great and amazing tools and everything, subscription based. So everything come with some kind of a monthly, yearly, cost or more. It's kind of like vampires leeching off of that federal and state dollar. And again, tools are amazing. You could buy all kinds of stuff, but it's hard to find. And I think at certain aspects that I don't want to discredit and call them vampires totally, because there were tools that truly were actually improving education as a whole. What is it really costing? I mean, obviously, I talked about the financial burdens that may cost and cost the district and the taxpayers. But what about our kids? What was it doing as an impact to them? And then I can't help but to just stop and think as well as not only is that impacting the individual students that may be placed in front of a computer, for countless hours throughout the day, but overall humanity. What are we doing? What direction are we going? And whose plan is this? Obviously, we at the school level, it was up to us to determine, how to implement and utilize the technology. There was no necessarily standard that I was aware of that said you have to, use this many or utilize certain programs. But it felt like we were running fast into something that maybe there should have been a small pause and a little bit more conversation. Now, mind you, I was a contractor, so early on, I wasn't a part of some of the early conversations that were happening in our district. And I'm not pinpointing, the district that I worked for exclusively, but just in education and overall, what was the overall direction and how was this going to all turn out? I started to just see the technology kind of felt like it was a distraction in the classroom, to the teachers, to the students. If they couldn't listen to, their music during the class period, it was a problem for them. I tried my best to implement tools that would give the teachers the ability to manage and maybe, shut the internet down until, they gave permission. But very few teachers really embraced, those resources and wanted to learn more. And I don't blame them on certain levels. They were called to teach. And if that was their passion, they wanted to instruct. They didn't want to have to babysit and turn off computers and have to learn all this additional things to be able to manage the classroom. I think we all can agree, the technology and the amount of screen time that children and adults spend is a unhealthy aspect of our life. I think that the immediate gratification and the ability now to just use words and type them in social media platforms and the impact that they may have is just truly out of control. And as somebody, like I said, I'm 47. Growing up, I didn't have to worry about some of that. Sure, there's the groups of kids, and some would pick on one another, but it didn't follow you home typically. You could go home and not have to be concerned with what was being said and feel like you had to uphold a whole identity as well there. You could go home and be a kid. Mental health, I think, truly is something that we're experiencing as part of the problems that we see in this world. Those technologies are truly rewiring the brains of our youth, and so be it our humanity. One of the scientists that I've followed, I truly appreciate his knowledge from a scientific standpoint. But something he had said on a podcast that I watched today, and it might not have been released today, but through using technology and AI, we're losing a part of our identity as humans. And the statement was not quoted. And Greg Braden is the individual. Look him up if you haven't. Some amazing information that he covers on various topics. But anyway, he had stated that when we stop using the creativity that make us human, eventually that starts to become something that we lose. Use it or lose it. And I do agree. I think that there's a level of inability to do something on our own when we highly rely or depend on technology. Shamefully, GPS, I used to be amazing at directions, and I remember going in, an old map book, Atlas, something that I get from the insurance company, being able to figure out the path and at least the main roads I could get, where I was going. And then once I kind of got in the town, if I was traveling to a specific area, I would remember because, it was a active part of me figuring out that and then the actual implementation or accomplishment of that. Now with GPS, we plug in to our phones or technology device and convenient. I'm not going to say it's not, but my lack of ability to truly be like, oh yeah, I can get back there, no problem. Understanding the long-term consequences of these shifts, not even saying that they're bad, but what is that trade-off? Are we trading our humanity and our experiences that we have on this planet for shallow digital experiences? Again, going back to education, and not even in education, because it's truly not just in the schools, but I know the information that's out there states that the frequencies that technology is working on, the 5G, 2.4 gigahertz, 900, all those different frequencies are not harmful. That it's not creating any type of damage or impacting us as humans. I remember working at an internet service provider. I was in sales, and they used to refer in the technology, the 900 hertz was the cat killer frequency. That was the reference. And do I know why? Not necessarily, but that was truly what that it was referenced as. And that was early on. And that's not something that's used as often. But we are beaming ourselves with not just internet signals, not just radio signals, television signals, cell phone tower signals. I mean, there is so much bouncing around that we don't see with our eyes. It makes me question, how is that impacting us over the long haul? Putting a computer in a room, and sometimes you're like, I don't have very good signal here. There's different things that can create the electromagnetic interference, or the interference on the frequencies that will impact how it's working. So there's things there. But if you add like in a classroom, 30 devices, and they're all trying to communicate through a router, they're all bouncing frequencies out of the device, but also from the wireless antenna that is mounted above them in that classroom. So it's a lot of signals bouncing around in just a classroom itself. I just started to wonder a little bit deeper is what is the impact? By the time that we actually know that, wow, that wasn't a good idea. I mean, we could have changed our our bodies and not necessarily in a good way. Taking it a level deeper, what about other lives on this planet? Plants, the weather, is it impacting, creating chaos in how them things function? I'm sure science will tell you no impact. We've done all kinds of research, and we have all kinds of data, but at this point, especially after COVID, I question how much of the things that we're told by science, how much of that is truth and not just, hey, you have to say this, and if you don't, then you don't continue to get your funding, or, we're going to ruin you, and there's always that distrust now for me, after COVID. Not saying it wasn't real, none of that, but maybe we'll dig deeper in that stuff a little bit. But beyond the living plants, animals, how that they are being impacted, what about the planet? The planet herself. And yes, I called the planet that we call Earth, that most of us call just a rock, that's floating through space. But we just live on this piece of dirt. To me, she is so much more. She is the mother of all living things, and truly anything that is on this planet, whatever it may be that we use and consume on a daily basis. They're all products. Well, no, science chemists created plastic or whatever while using things of this planet. So to me, just as indigenous beliefs had paralleled, is living. I think that's something that we as people have kind of forgotten. We take for granted, kind of just strip her of all the resources that we think that should be rightfully ours to utilize to try to make our lives a little more convenient, all the while, impacting the environment. Am I saying that there are on all of those levels? I'm not even trying to make that claim, but what ifs, the what ifs, are we truly digging deep enough? What's happening to our physical, biological body that makes us, are a part of who we are. The very sleeves that our soul inhabits. What impact is it having on the sleeve, the physical body, but also our soul and our the layers of our personality? The things that make us who we are. I think this question, comes to just something even larger than just technology. I'm not like technology is horrible, pull the plug. It's the impacts of the choices that we're making today. Another video I've already created, it should be available, talks about the choices are what drives the overall things that create. For us, it's our experiences is the major impact on us, but the choices and decisions that we made shaped those experiences. And if we would have changed a choice that we made, probably wouldn't necessarily have gone the same way if it was something we had the choice to do. I think that ecosystems are very important. The ability to be human. I know that we're raging forward, and I'm curious. I heard talk. It might have been Joe Rogan or something. Somebody was on a podcast, and Oliver Anthony, maybe, or maybe I'm wrong on it, but he's a sensation, overnight sensation, country singer, but talked about, will we have the choice when it's time to merge with AI, and if we even have the choice, how many people would even resist that? Because we build our day-to-day life, and the statement was, we can't even leave the room or the house with out feeling like we're a part of us is missing if we leave our phone, somewhere else. There is a lot of truth to that, and it was deep talk, and something that I can say, I agree, that when you don't have technology, you feel like that you're not able to exist. I watch people, if power, or more so internet goes down because of storms in northern Michigan, winter storms, people freak out. If you go without power for a couple of days, and a lot of it is I don't have access to to my technology. It's just crazy how dependent and reliant we have become. I think that technology's brought some amazing things. Even this podcast would not be available if it wasn't for the advancements and the use of technology. I'm not saying it's all bad, and a lot of things are beneficial if used in the correct capacity. What happens if there is a tipping point that we reach that, and then we surpass? What are we going to be experiencing? What path will we be walking? There's theories and alternative history conversations of long past civilizations that were highly advanced. There's talks of Atlantis. Plato had spoke of Atlantis. It sounded like it was a very higher advanced civilization. There's no facts to back, but Tartaria and just all kinds of pre-Diluvian civilizations that may have existed in past times. I'm not really trying to roll out at this point in the podcast, but I've kind of seen some of the megalithic stone structures, and it is a curiosity to me. Was technology that we no longer have or don't have at this point in time, was it used to maybe move some of them large stones and cut them, shape them, form them, maybe heat them, whatever it may be, and things like the pyramids and other sites around the world. So, those civilizations, and again, I know this is way off the beaten path, and well, we've been told the point of this podcast series is just to start to question what we've been told and start to look at the facts of what is around us, and if it doesn't make sense, and sure, how many people can move stones, and they could put them on logs and roll them, and you can cut rock using whatever methods, but in a timeline like the Great Pyramid in Egypt, however many millions of stone, how much man hours would have just taken to harvest the stones, from the areas that they were, quarried from, let alone travel, however far they had to, and then, carry them or, make them, go in the positions that they were, to actually assemble that. It's just such a massive undertaking that it doesn't calculate to me. And could it have been? Yeah, anything's possible. I'm not trying to discount humanity and who we are, but also I'm not trying to discount humanity and who we are. Does that mean it had to happen in the 5,000 year, 6,000 year period that we claim as our known history? I'm not necessarily saying that it even had to happen in that time. Even since the 1940s, it's 2026, so we'll just round it to 70 years. The advancements that we have made, you're talking 6,000 years. There's a lot of time in that span, even if you believe that time frame, that 6,000 years since we become past the hunters and gatherers stage. Just AI, the ability for that advancement. If you're any bit in the technology world, even in our day to day, I've seen a family member was super excited and was engaging with his cousin. His response to the other cousin that was super loud and excited, he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! Hey, my watch is telling me it's too loud. I need to quiet things down in my area. And I'm not saying that's bad. I mean, that's for a good benefit, but it's all around us in our phones. You can talk to them. I use it. I think it's very beneficial. Or is it always going to be? I look at people that use it for education. I was very one-sided on how what my opinion was when it come out. I heard a lot of education people disliking it and the impact and how students will use it to cheat. But in one of the conferences that I was sent to, I said, what, I want to be a little bit more open-minded, and let me just see if maybe there's some information that I'm not aware of that I can help educate myself so that I can just have a full picture or better perspective of if it could be beneficial and useful in any capacity. So in that, I learned, wow, there is definitely a place for it. Thinking of, just the benefits that we are starting to truly integrate on our daily lives. Is there going to be a point where it merges even fully? We become partial, cyborg, partial human, partial technology. And, will it be beneficial? I'm not saying it won't. Maybe in certain situations it would be amazing, but others, maybe that isn't such a good thing. The question is do we lose ourselves as humans, as humanity? You can't deny certain things on evolution and how things can evolve. Maybe that's the next step for, us as beings and what we become. But is that what you want? Have you ever thought like, man, what is that gonna be like? What do I want? Most of us will probably not see fully the integration on the marriage of humanity and technology, but we already are seeing the early stages of that. I'm not saying this is the full topic and everything that I hope to dig into, but I do want to start to really make our wheels turn. I know certain things are going to potentially upset individuals, or they're not going to align with thoughts or beliefs that they have. For me, this is not creating the content that I am. It's not intended to make me rich for views. I'm not trying to create any additional division amongst us as humans. Because truly, do we need more division? It's actually opposite. What can we do to bring back a level of humanity that maybe we don't get to experience much anymore? Life is so impersonal anymore. We're missing something. I'm just exploring. That was one thing that kind of led me down the path of deeper questioning. I've always been somebody to question things and try to learn, and had those weird theories and thoughts and beliefs. But technology as a whole really started to push me in the last 4 or 5 years on what's going on, behind the scene. And I think it's important for us all to start to recognize that maybe where we are at as a civilization is not that we should be. I would hope that at least the time that I existed on this planet, that, in the history that is told, that it's not like, man, them people were idiots. They, are fighting about, is this dress blue or is it white? Just all the things that become important to us. I want to know that when our era passes, that we weren't the idiots. And I hope that maybe somebody that resonates with, I'm a very spiritual person now, and I will start to poke buttons in regards to, oh, I was told that you can't believe in those capacities. Let's stop allowing people to tell us what we can think, and start thinking for ourselves. I hear so much regurgitated beliefs and things that are said that I question, and down to I've heard, oh, this so people are this particular race is they're super racist, and I inquired, I'm like, okay, can we just stop? Like, I'm not defending, but like, tell me of your experiences of the racism, and truly. One might have had a different perspective from, different time and life that the individual had experienced. But I said, discount that, because I think that would be a place. But come down to, there was maybe some things in grade school, where kids are immature and, they're still flicking boogers at each other. I remember the things that, were going on when I was in grade school, and would I call that racism? There are certain things, yeah, sure. But did they know better? And then have they seen them same people as adults, and how are they? I know I experienced things in high school that some of the clientele that I built were them people, and it felt so good that, wow, it felt like they respected me, in them later years. So, but it ended up in a point of frustration, that conversation where, the one, well, I've truly experienced much more People saying things that were racist in the last 8 years, which felt just, again, regurgitated talking points that we hear on mainstream media. So let's pause, question our beliefs a little bit more. Do we truly believe that? I think I've got another video that I talk about the difference between thinking something and hearing or reading something where to a point that it's knowledge. I mean, we know it, but it's not to the core level of a belief that is a part of a deeper truth to us, and truly start to feel like, does this align with something that it makes sense? Can I truly believe it, or am I going to just take for granted that somebody that I should trust or a system that I should trust spoon-fed me this information and knowledge? A pastor of mine many years ago had said, to be reading, myself in the Bible and studying, that I was to show myself approved, to not just rely on regurgitated information and knowledge that he may be studying. And through my studies, I've learned my perception of a lot of what's in the Bible is way different than mainstream and what the standard understanding is. So I'm glad that I've learned to kind of not just follow the crowd, if you will, and become my own mind, to be responsible for my own knowledge and thinking and beliefs. So, I just, again, I want to thank you guys. I kind of dug a little bit, about, Christianity, born and raised Catholic, fell away from the church in my teenage years, as a lot of people do. In my mid-20s, I actually explored back into Christianity. This time, as a youth, I didn't feel like I had much of a choice. In my 20s, I actually was looking for knowledge and information. There was a time in my life I explored astrology and spirituality, and I think even at one point, I made a little wand, out of a tree branch, and not to call, I wasn't Harry Potter. That was pre-Harry Potter. I inspired Harry Potter. No, but I couldn't say that nothing really ever resonated largely on some of that path and on that walk. I might have thought for a short while that I did a spell with my little tree branch that I'm like, I don't want to do something bad, but I want to never hit a red light again. And I kid you not, for quite a while, I would think 4 months, I don't think I ran into a red light. Now, mind you, in the small town I was from, there's only one red light, but I was traveling. I was going around quite a bit, but eventually I kind of, the belief that I wouldn't experience a red light kind of faded, and I started to, hit red lights again. But did that mean it was anything more than coincidence? No. But again, just a little bit about me and some of the silliness. But so regardless, that walk through life on the Christianity experience, eventually I fell away, and the I'll call it wizardry, was pre that Christian walk. But something that I took from my Christianity experiences, even though I fell away from Christianity, I started to realize that my passion and something that was very important to me was people. And I truly dug into people and trying to understand what makes us tick, and why do we work the way that we do as humans. But my goal through a lot of the self-help books that I read, there's a lot of potential of manipulating and as you gain that knowledge, that you could take advantage of situations, but with great power comes great responsibility. So for me, it wasn't it was about me initially trying to help myself, and a lot of that, but then realizing I can help other people, through that knowledge, and not, as people, guidance. So I think, investing in, I said I would kind of touch on why am I taking the time here. Um, One of my past relationships, the wonderful woman that I was, dating at the time, um, there may have been a little jealousy, whatever going on, on me and how I was moving. Not that it wasn't warranted, but something that was stated was, it's understandable, that you move in certain ways because you love. Um, and at that time, I was being defensive because, like I said, I was probably more guilty than I wanted to admit at that time of certain things, and not to belittle myself. I'm not the same person. I've grown so much since so many of my experiences in life from the choices that I made. But um, I I understand now. Um, I do love, and I do love everybody as a human. I forgive sometimes way too quickly, and that may be a weakness. But to me, it allows me, now I understand, to not carry unnecessary energy that is harmful. Guilt, shame, anger. Those feelings that really lower our vibration. And do I love, or do I just not want to feel that way? No, because it's feels better. It feels right in my heart to be able to move past things. So um, the last, well, are you educated? Where are you getting all your knowledge? I've spent probably maybe 4 to 6 years, the past 4 to 6 years, beyond just a lot of the reading and stuff that I've done, but truly researching, studying, uh, diving deeply into a variety of religions, belief systems, um, alternative belief systems, mainstream. What it is. I've been a part of the mainstream for so long, um, and I think what I've learned is everybody is unique. We're not all going to align with each other fully on agree on everything. This world was never meant to be a one size fits all cookie cutter. Run us through a K-12 school system, and everybody that comes out at the end is supposed to be, the same. Belief systems, our spirituality. Are you religious or whatever? It's not a one size fits all. And that's okay. There's so much wisdom and so many different belief systems and traditions. The biggest thing is thinking that yours is the only one that's right. And any truth, any belief, just because it's true to you does not make it actually right or fully true. I wouldn't call myself a full believer in religion, and certain ones I'm really going to dig in and probably will hurt some people. It hurt myself when going through, because it was a part of who I was at certain levels. I can't say more, and I'm not saying this to turn off the spiritual people. Christ to me means something totally different than to most. Are you saying you don't believe in Jesus as your savior? I would say that Christ is my savior. Who you know as Jesus, I refer to as Yeshua, as that's a more accurate name, that has been documented. I call on the name of Jesus. We're taught in certain religions, and you're at a wedding, and somebody's yelling for you, and let's just say your name is Mary, and somebody's screaming, "Maggie!" across the room. "Maggie!" You may hear that person, but you're like, man, I don't know who the hell Maggie is, but wish she would answer this person, because they're not calling you by name, the right name. You're not going to respond. The importance and some of that, again, those questions, why are we calling it? Well, that's a translation, Yeshua to Joshua to Jesus. To me, it's much more, why are you telling us to call on, a name of something that is not correct? Well, it means the same. It doesn't mean the same to me. The belief portion, I understand, I agree. But if you're calling on the name of something, if you don't need to call the right name, then do you even need to call on them powers? You just do it within yourself because you believe. There's going to be some things that I will, question and maybe just try to get you to question a little bit more that don't make sense to me. And I hope that it doesn't scare a lot of people off. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying, that the things that I will speak of, I would never intentionally mislead somebody. And I will utilize thinking, knowing, and believing to kind of guide you in where I am at in my stance on something. Politics, just the same. I'm going to dig into the systems that make up the political environment and atmosphere of not just our country, but the world that shapes our daily lives. At the core of it all, looking beyond the system to me is questioning something that we really didn't have a choice of being born into. Maybe there is no scheme or harmful intentions behind what's going on and where we are at, but at least maybe we can start to have conversations of how do we adjust the system from where it is. That, to me, this isn't a working system. If you look around, this is chaos. This is people are not happy. Kids spend half their time in video games to escape this reality. Our generation, drinking and drugs and all of that was huge for escaping. I read something the other day that alcohol usage has dropped tremendously amongst the youth. And not to promote it, but how much drinking did a lot of us do as teenagers? So that's a good thing that has dropped. But what are they turning to? Why are they escaping this reality? We were doing it just for fun. Maybe, but I can go and I went bowling today. I had a blast with the people that I was with. It wasn't about having the buzz or anything of that nature. It was just being around people again in a larger capacity. Starting to question the systems. We were thrusted at the age of 5 into our education. They've molded us into what we are, the way we work, what we believe, cultures and beliefs that we have. We've all been molded to be who we are. It's time to start thinking about what we want to be and try to make some course correction to get us to that point. As I wrap up, I want to admit that I'm not promising you all the answers and solutions. I honestly, I don't have them. I do have, insight, and I feel as I dig back some of the things that I unpackage, very unique take on things. I do have a lot of questions. The biggest thing is I want to try to start engaging in just conversation and finding a point of doing something in love because I care. I care about humanity. I care mostly, I care about my grandchildren and their future. I care about your children. Walk with me. Let's dig into, the topics, belief systems. I do have some things that I will unpack. If I speak about in some of the videos things that don't resonate with you, please don't discount me as something that does not is not worth your time anymore. My belief of the challenge. I believe it was the Apostle Paul or Peter, one of them. To judge by the fruits of the Spirit, and if you feel that I'm coming ever in a point that is not in a direction of love, in that capacity, please, I'm not worth it. It was in the Bible that, do not believe those type of people. But if it's something that I don't like how that makes me feel, stop and take a look at how I'm delivering and the thought and everything that I'm putting in there. Am I just being like most people? You're an idiot because you don't believe the way that I do. No. I guarantee I've given a lot of thought into many perspectives through questioning and studying. And sometimes it rubs me wrong because I'm like, ooh, but then I'm like, oh, maybe I don't believe correctly because I'm responding in a certain capacity. So walk with me. I hope that you continue. I know my following is not very big at this point. I'm just starting. Um, Follow me, like, subscribe. This isn't about money, but in order to monetize and start to create some of the things that I want and be able to maybe pay some people to help do the video editing and things that I don't have time. I want to be a content creator, not the video editor or the person putting the stuff on social media. To be able to help cover some of their time, that would be great. And that monetary gain comes from just sharing and liking and following and viewing the content that is created. Thank you. I come to you in love and peace. Keep your eye on the content that's being produced and our future.